With no Coptic Orthodox church in the affluent Zamalek district of Cairo until the 1950s, the Coptic community purchased land and launched a design competition to find the ideal architect for the new church in 1952. Ramses Wissa Wassef, a pioneer in the field, was awarded the honor of designing the Virgin Mary Church thanks to his concept that fused Coptic vernacular architecture, Greco-Roman, and ancient Egyptian styles, creating a unique monument.
He managed to draw from his repertoire of talents and knowledge of art history, of architectural design, of collaborating with other artists on the artwork and icons in the church. When you compare it to the rest of his work, you can't really put him in a frame of vernacular architecture as he usually is framed. For example, here it's quite progressive. The design and the integration of the structure in the design is very far from the mud brick and dome and vault architecture that he's also known for, which he only used because it was functional. For example, when he did the Arts Center in Haranea, it was a way of using the local cheap material at hand with untrained masons, which were the children of Haranea, along with other builders. And the architecture enabled them to construct their own place, their own spaces.
Ramses grew up in an extremely cultured home that celebrated critical thinking on matters from art to politics, resulting in him becoming an extremely well-versed, multidisciplinary artisan and architect. Regarding his philosophy on design,
well, Ramses was a very versatile artist, architect. He taught history of art and history of architecture. And to him, this was part of daily expression.
His architecture was therefore always unique, grounded, multi-layered, and without a doubt, Egyptian. But it is his intuitive character that affects the heart of all those who knew him until today.
He had the sense of understanding you. He had this beautiful, kind eyes, but in the same time, very penetrating into the soul of the person in front of him. Yes. He can read inside him, he can read his soul, and then knows his strengths and his personality and how personal this, certain characteristic in him, and then he will begin to reflect it to him. He can see what's inside you, and then he will gradually, over the time and years, you can begin to see yourself through his mirror.
The church was originally a humble structure. However, affluent neighbors asked for something grander with space for community activities like Sunday schools, wedding venues, and the like. The result is a spiritual masterpiece that is seamlessly modest and grand at the same time. Most importantly, after the 1952 revolution, political and social factors allowed the church to be more visible and identifiable from the street level. The church's design is a deviation from previous Coptic architecture, deviating from traditional to a more modern mid-century house of worship that takes cues from Coptic vernacular architecture, including vaults and domes, ancient Egyptian and Greco-Roman styles. That being said, Ramses personally didn't like labels.
He didn't like frames. He didn't like everything should be. This is Islamic architecture. This is Coptic architecture. No, it's a human architecture. It's a human need at a certain time, at a certain philosophy, with a certain background. So it is done with a certain material. He was very versatile with that.
Though he didn't like labels, he loved symbolism and references, and this church is a prime example of this love. The most beautiful use of symbolism, in my point of view, is the entrance dome that fuses ancient Egyptian to Coptic vernacular design and pays respect to the namesake of the church, the Virgin Mary.
Above it, you can see the blue niche with the dome, and the blue niche here has stars within it, and those stars are drawn like the Seba star, the ancient Egyptian star with 5 fingers. So it resembles ancient Egyptian art, and this art resembles goddess Nut. So goddess Nut is the goddess of the sky at the ancient Egyptian, which resembles and relates in the Coptic beliefs Virgin Mary. So Virgin Mary is known to be the second sky in the Coptic beliefs. So he's putting an ancient Egyptian symbol of goddess Nut to relate it to Virgin Mary, that holds Jesus in her womb, resembled in the dome.
An additional symbol is Wassef's use of the number 3. Most Christian churches around the world use it to symbolize the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The most obvious use of the number 3 are the 3 large doors of the facade, 1 central door and 2 side doors. The central door requiring visitors to pass through an Arc of Triumph, a Roman tradition that was translated into Christian dogma, flanked by 2 lotus columns referencing new life as it did in ancient Egyptian temples. Another symbol Wassef used was the ancient Egyptian obelisk for the church's bell tower. Just like its homage, the tower symbolizes victory and royal jubilees. And just like it was a royal reminder for those entering a temple in ancient Egyptian times, its placement in the church does the same. Together with engineer William Salim Hanna, a structural consultant, Ramses created a modern take on the Byzantine floor plan.
Instead of having the nave and the aisle separated by columns, the structural consultant could have that new design of a white span at the time.
Yeah.
So William Salim Hanna succeeded in doing the white span, all right? So we cannot see the nave from the aisle separated by columns, but yet to relate to our traditional architecture, you can see that reflected in the ceiling. So you can see the aisles are lower and the nave is higher. And that gives as well the telescopic section and the idea of how things move upwards towards God.
By removing the typical columns in the nave to the side, he allowed everyone to see the altar much more clearly. By keeping the nave ceiling higher, Wassef maintained tradition while adding more focus to the central axis, focusing on the most important part of the church, the altar.
Everything in the church design is based on that focal point.
Yes.
Repetition, rhythm, light, focal point.
The plan of the church, of course, is built upon the Mass, which interestingly has had few changes in its liturgy over its history. And that includes the number and reasoning behind the quantity of altars, with the Virgin Mary Church having 3.
So the 3 altars idea is the main altar is named after the saint of the church. So that's the Virgin Mary Church. So the main altar would be Virgin Mary, and you can see the icon over the veil at the iconostasis. And then you have other altars are optional, all right, for additional masses. So we cannot pray on the same altar several masses until the altar itself fasts 9 hours, as we usually fast 9 hours before we enter to communion.
The plan also included space for the 3 beautiful processions that happened during Mass, another reference to the Trinity, seen in these renders. With a strong foundational understanding of the liturgy and social requirements, the church is extremely well-planned and comfortable, allowing parishioners to focus on the Mass and prayer.
The Coptic Orthodox Church was always a poor church. It's not like the Russian Orthodox where you find gold-plated domes. It was always a poor church, all right, under persecution, under poverty. So it came up with a humble culture and the humble technique and a very vernacular architecture that is based on bricks and soil and the like.
With that in mind, and alongside Wassef's use of natural light and a monochromatic earthy color scheme, the more vibrant colors of the artwork are highlighted, reinforcing the altar as a focal point of the church.
So if we talk about the Tahara, which is the final plaster cover to the walls, it's white and it's made by very traditional materials, which is the crushed limestone, lime itself, and white cement with touch of sand, very fine sand. The beauty about it, it's clean. It has this beautiful off-white color, but most of all, it's a sound absorbing.
Oh, wow.
And a heat insulator as well. So if we use it on the outside, it's heat insulating. If we use it on the inside, it sort of brings down the sound down and absorbs all the extra vibrations. So all in all, it serves the final purpose. He knew how to bring together different materials to get a simple but a very sophisticated outlook to what he does in his architecture.
This notion is also visible via his brilliant use of light. By using mostly diffuse light and putting the strongest natural light over the altar via the clear glass, Wissa Wassef added another spiritually uplifting layer onto the altar. Thank you for watching our interviews about the Virgin Mary Church by Ramses Wissa Wassef. On our next episode, we'll take a closer look at the beautiful art of the church, from iconography to tapestries to stained glass windows. The church is truly a multimedia art space,